The battlefield lay silent beneath a sky the color of dark red iron. Smoke drifted in thick ribbons, carrying the bitter smell of burned metal and ash. Broken machines and shattered walls stretched as far as the eye could see. No birds, no voices, only the distant echo of explosions somewhere beyond the ruined city. Ryan opened his eyes to pain. His head throbbed, and a sharp ache pulsed in his left leg. For a long moment he could not remember where he was. Then memories returned like quick flashes, gunfire, bright alien light, a blast that threw him off his feet. He was a soldier of the Earth Defense, sent here to hold the line against the alien army. Now he lay half buried in rubble, alone. He pushed away a slab of broken stone and forced himself to sit up. His armor was cracked, and a deep cut along his thigh bled slowly. The sky above glowed like burning coal, lit by strange clouds that swirled in unnatural shapes. He listened. No friendly voices called out. No one came. Ryan knew he could not stay. The enemy might return, and airstrikes could fall again without warning. He searched the ground for his weapon and found his rifle twisted and useless. All he had left was a small sidearm and a half-empty water pack. He tightened the straps of his torn armor and began to move, limping between heaps of broken steel. Every step sent pain through his leg, but silence was worse. He walked carefully, scanning shadows for movement. The ruined street was littered with debris from both armies, human helmets, alien metal fragments that still glowed faint blue. The war had left nothing alive. Then, faint and strange, he heard it. A soft sound. Not metal. Not wind. A cry. Ryan stopped. He held his breath, straining to listen. Again it came, a thin whimper like the voice of a small child. His training told him to ignore it. It could be a trap, a wounded enemy, or a dying animal. Yet the sound tugged at him in a way he could not explain. He followed the noise past a broken vehicle, stepping over shattered glass. The cry grew clearer. It came from beneath a collapsed beam of blackened stone. Ryan knelt and shone a small light into the gap. Two silver eyes looked back at him. For a second his heart froze. It was a child, an alien child. Its skin glimmered faint blue, smooth like polished pearl. Tiny hands clutched a piece of cloth. A faint glow outlined its small body. It blinked at him, frightened but silent now. Ryan's mind raced. His orders were clear, alien life forms were the enemy. Yet here was a child, alone and trembling in the ruins. The sky rumbled again, a deep growl that warned of more bombing. He could leave the child. He could save himself. But something deep inside refused. He lowered his weapon and whispered softly, "It's okay." The child tilted its head, uncomprehending. A distant explosion shook the ground, showering them with dust. The child flinched and began to cry again, a thin, high sound that pierced Ryan's chest. He glanced at the sky. Bright flashes marked incoming fire. Time was almost gone. Ryan reached forward, lifted the heavy beam with a grunt, and slid the child free. The little one was light, smaller than a human toddler, and warm against his arm. It stared at him with wide silver eyes, still trembling but no longer crying. Another blast thundered closer. Ryan pulled the child against his chest. "Stay quiet," he whispered. He limped toward a half-standing wall for cover. The ground quaked as distant buildings collapsed. Smoke and fire rolled across the horizon, and sparks rained from the blood-red clouds. The child hit its face against his shoulder. Ryan's thoughts were sharp and clear now. He could not turn back. He could not call for help. Human soldiers would shoot the alien child. Alien soldiers would kill him on sight. The only path was forward, through the wreckage, toward some unknown safe place. The sky darkened further, glowing with new fire. Ryan tightened his grip on the child and pushed on through the ruins, every step a promise he did not fully understand. Behind them the city burned, and ahead lay only silence and danger. He did not know why he had chosen to save the alien child. He only knew he could not leave it to die. And somewhere beyond the smoke, the war still raged, the ruins of the city stretched like a maze of broken walls and twisted steel. Ryan moved carefully, his injured leg throbbing with every step. The alien child rested in his arms, light as a shadow but warm against the cold air. Smoke stung his eyes, and the distant rumble of explosions rolled like thunder over the empty streets. Above them, the sky still burned a dark red. Flashes of pale blue lightning lit the clouds, alien energy strikes far beyond the horizon. Ryan knew both armies were still fighting somewhere out there. If he stayed in the open too long, he would be caught in the next wave of fire. He kept to the edges of fallen buildings, sliding from one patch of cover to the next. His eyes never stopped moving. Broken glass crunched softly under his boots, and every sound seemed too loud in the heavy silence. The child pressed its small head against his chest. From time to time it made a faint sound, half whimper, half question, but when Ryan whispered, "Shoo," it went quiet. He wondered if it understood. Probably not. Yet the child seemed to sense his intent to keep it safe. A sudden whirring noise froze him in place. Ryan ducked behind a shattered wall and held his breath. The whirring grew louder, like the spin of metal wings. He risked a glance upward. A sleek shape cut across the smoky sky, a drone, black and sharp as a knife. Its red sensor light swept the ruins below, scanning for movement. His heart pounded. Earth drones were gone, this one belonged to the alien army. If it saw him carrying an alien child, it might still fire. To the machine he was only a human soldier. Ryan crouched low, pressing the child close. The drone passed overhead, humming with cold precision. A faint beam of red light swept across the street where he knelt. Dust tickled his nose, and he fought the urge to sneeze. Seconds stretched long as hours. At last the drone turned away, its sound fading into the distance. Ryan exhaled, chest tight. "Still with me, little one," he whispered. The child looked up, silver eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. It reached a tiny hand toward his face, then rested again against his armor. He moved on, slower now, choosing each step with care. Around them the ruined city felt alive with unseen eyes. Shadows shifted as smoke drifted through broken windows. Sometimes he thought he heard footsteps behind them, but when he turned, nothing moved. The street narrowed into an alley. Here, old human buildings leaned against each other like tired giants. Broken signs swung in the wind, squealing softly. Ryan paused to listen. Far off, a heavy boom echoed, another bombardment. Closer, the faint tap of metal on stone. Someone, or something, was moving nearby. Ryan ducked behind a collapsed doorway and set the child down for a moment. He drew his small sidearm, checking the single loaded clip. Not much, but better than nothing. He listened. Tap, tap, the sound came again, steady, like metal feet. His breath slowed. He signaled the child to stay still, placing a finger on his lips. The child tilted its head but remained silent. A shadow slid across the alley mouth. Ryan tightened his grip on the gun. Then the shape passed, only a loose piece of sheet metal swinging in the wind. He let out a slow breath, tension easing but not gone. He lifted the child again and continued. They moved through the alley, past old market stalls and broken vehicles. Twice more drones swept overhead, and each time he hid beneath rubble until the hum faded. As night deepened, the cold grew sharper. Ryan felt his strength weaken. His wounded leg ached with every step, and his throat burned for water. He checked the sky, still red, still dangerous. They needed shelter soon. The child stirred and looked up at him with shining eyes. Then, to his surprise, it spoke a single soft word in halting human language. Safe. Ryan stopped. The voice was small but clear. The child's mouth shaped the word again, safe. He swallowed, unsure what to say. Not yet, he whispered. But I'll try. The child rested its head back against his chest, trusting him. That trust weighed heavier than his wound, heavier than the dark city around them. Ryan pressed on. Somewhere in these ruins there had to be a place to hide, a path that would keep them both alive until dawn. But every corner held danger. Enemy patrols could appear without warning. Human scouts might see him and open fire before asking questions. He was a soldier alone with an alien child in a city filled with enemies from both sides. He tightened his grip on his weapon and quickened his pace despite the pain. The child's faint warmth gave him strength. Behind them, the war machines hummed in the sky, searching. The night was not over. And Ryan knew the real hunt had only just begun. The night grew colder as Ryan moved through the shattered city. Smoke still floated in thin sheets across the ruins, glowing faintly red from the distant fires. His wounded leg felt heavy, and every step sent a sharp pain up to his hip. The small alien child rested quietly against his chest, warm and strangely calm, as if it trusted him completely. Ryan paused beneath the broken frame of a tall building. The street ahead was open and dangerous. He scanned the shadows for movement. Far above, drones hummed like angry insects, their searchlights slicing through the smoke. He knew he needed a place to hide before dawn. He forced his tired mind to think of the city's layout. Before the war, he had studied old maps. Beneath the center of the city there were service tunnels built for power and water lines. If the tunnels still existed, they might give him a path out of the combat zone. He whispered to the child, "We need to find a way underground." The child tilted its head, silver eyes reflecting the faint firelight. It did not speak, but Ryan felt that it understood his urgency. He kept to the edges of ruined buildings, searching for any sign of an entrance. Finally, behind a collapsed marketplace, he found a half-buried steel hatch. It was covered in rubble and dust, its handle bent and rusted. Ryan set the child down carefully on a patch of cracked pavement. "Stay close," he said softly. With a grunt he pulled at the hatch. It did not move. His wounded leg throbbed as he strained again, teeth clenched. At last the handle creaked and shifted. A rush of stale, cold air escaped as the hatch opened a few inches. He widened the gap and peered into darkness. A narrow ladder led down into a black shaft. The smell of damp metal drifted upward. Ryan tested the first rung. It held. He picked up the child, slung his weapon across his back, and began the careful descent. The air grew cooler as they went down. Water dripped somewhere below, echoing like slow footsteps. Ryan's boots touched the tunnel floor with a soft splash. He set the child down and switched on a small flashlight. The beam lit a long concrete corridor lined with old pipes and broken wires. Moss and grime coated the walls. Here and there, warning signs and faded paint warned of high voltage, though the power had long since failed. Ryan let out a slow breath of relief. For now, they were hidden. He offered the child a small ration of dry food from his pack. The child sniffed at it, then took a tiny bite. Its glowing eyes softened as it chewed. Ryan drank a little water, careful to save the rest. They sat in silence for a time. Only the quiet drip of water and the distant rumble of war reached them. Then the child looked up and spoke a single word in broken human language. "Mother." The sound startled Ryan. He studied the small face. The child repeated softly, "Mother." Ryan's heart tightened. Was the mother alive? Was she searching for the child now? And if she found them, would she see him as a rescuer or an enemy? He did not answer. Instead he adjusted the light and stood. "We have to keep moving," he said. They began walking through the tunnel, their footsteps echoing off the damp walls. Sometimes the ceiling trembled faintly, as if distant bombs struck above them. At each junction Ryan checked old signs, trying to remember which direction might lead away from the battle lines. As they moved deeper, he noticed faint scratches on the walls, marks shaped like symbols he did not recognize. Perhaps others had passed this way. The child reached out to trace one of the symbols with a glowing fingertip, eyes wide with recognition, but it said nothing. The tunnel curved and sloped downward. Ryan's flashlight caught glimpses of rusted maintenance doors, long abandoned. One door stood half open, revealing a small chamber filled with broken equipment. He stepped inside and scanned the room. It was dry and quiet, a possible resting place. He set the child on an old metal crate and checked his leg wound. The bleeding had slowed, but the skin around the cut was dark and swollen. He tore a strip from his undershirt and bound it tighter. The child watched him silently, then reached out and touched his knee. A soft blue glow spread from its small hand, warm and gentle. The pain eased slightly. Ryan looked at the child in surprise. It only blinked and withdrew its hand. He whispered, "Thank you," though he was unsure if it understood. For a brief moment, the war above felt far away. But Ryan knew they could not stay long. The tunnels might hide them from the drones, but he could not guess what else might be moving in the dark. He stood and listened. Somewhere ahead, a faint metallic clank echoed, followed by a slow scrape, like something heavy sliding across stone. Ryan tightened his grip on his flashlight. The sound came again, closer this time. The child's silver eyes widened. Ryan raised a finger to his lips. "Quiet," he breathed. Together they waited in the dark, the tunnel holding its breath with them. The metallic scrape echoed again, louder this time. Ryan held the child close and turned off his flashlight. Darkness swallowed them, leaving only the soft glow of the child's silver eyes. He pressed his back against the damp tunnel wall, every muscle tense. For a long moment there was only silence. Then a faint hum began, low and steady, like a distant engine. The ground vibrated with each pulse. Ryan knew that sound. Alien war machine. He crouched, heart pounding, and pulled the child behind a rusted support beam. The child's breathing was quick and frightened but silent. Ryan whispered near its ear, "Stay still. Don't move." From the shadows ahead, a red light flickered and swept across the tunnel walls. A shape emerged, tall, armored, moving on three jointed legs of black steel. Its head turned side to side, sensor lenses glowing a deep crimson. Hydraulic joints hissed as it stepped forward, scanning for life. Ryan's sidearm felt small and useless. He knew the machine's armor could shrug off bullets. The only hope was to stay invisible. The machine stopped suddenly. Its sensors clicked, and a beam of red light flashed down the corridor, slicing through dust and mist. It paused, scanning. Ryan held his breath. The child trembled against him, tiny hands gripping his torn armor. The red beam slid across the beam where they hid. Ryan pressed himself tighter against the cold wall, heart hammering. Seconds stretched like hours. A sudden clatter came from far down another branch of the tunnel, a rock falling from a cracked ceiling. The machine swiveled with a sharp hiss and moved toward the noise. Its heavy legs thudded in rhythm as it disappeared into the dark. Ryan waited, counting slow breaths. 1 minute. 2. 3. The hum grew faint until only silence remained. He exhaled and turned on the flashlight again, the beam trembling in his hand. The child looked up, eyes wide, but said nothing. "We need to keep moving," he whispered. They left their hiding spot and continued down the tunnel, careful not to disturb loose stones. Ryan's injured leg burned, but he pushed on, driven by the memory of that red sensor light. The passage twisted deeper underground. Moist air thickened, carrying the smell of rust and old water. Sometimes they passed broken pipes where water dripped like slow rain. The child touched the walls as they walked, tracing strange symbols with its glowing fingers. Ryan wondered if these markings meant a path or a warning. After a long stretch of silence, the child spoke softly. "Hunter," it said in clear but small human words. Ryan glanced down in surprise. "You know that word?" The child nodded once, eyes serious. "Hunter bad?" Ryan swallowed. "Yeah," he said quietly. "Very bad." They continued until the tunnel widened into a large chamber where several paths met. Ancient machinery filled the space, rusted turbines, broken control panels, and thick cables snaking across the floor. Ryan paused to listen. Nothing but the slow drip of water. He set the child down and checked his leg. The wound looked worse, swelling under the bandage. Pain throbbed with every heartbeat. The child watched him, then reached out again with its glowing hand. When it touched his knee, a gentle warmth spread through the muscle. The ache eased slightly, though the cut remained. "Thank you," Ryan said, voice soft. The child gave a faint smile. A sudden vibration shook the floor. Ryan froze. From the tunnel behind them came the hum again, low, steady, impossible to mistake. The hunter was back. He grabbed the child and scanned the chamber for a hiding place. His flashlight caught a narrow maintenance shaft behind an old turbine. The opening was small and half blocked by debris, but it might be enough. "Come on," he whispered. He pushed through the gap, scraping his shoulder against sharp metal. The child slipped in easily. They crouched in the cramped space, darkness wrapping around them. The hum grew louder. Through a thin crack, Ryan saw the red glow return to the chamber. The machine stepped in, its legs clanging against the metal floor. It paused, scanning each tunnel with its crimson beam. Ryan held the child close, barely breathing. The machine moved slowly, sensors sweeping over the machinery. It stopped near the turbine where they hid. The red light shone across the wall only a few inches from Ryan's face. The child squeezed his hand but stayed silent. The machine emitted a sharp chirp and tilted its head. For a moment Ryan thought it had found them. Then another distant explosion echoed through the tunnels. The machine turned sharply and strode toward the sound, heavy footsteps fading into the dark. Silence returned, heavy and deep. Ryan waited several long minutes before daring to move. He finally whispered, "We have to go before it comes back." The child nodded. They crawled out of the shaft and into the chamber. Ryan's muscles trembled with exhaustion, but he forced himself to stand. The path ahead was still unknown, but staying meant certain death. Holding the child close, Ryan chose a tunnel leading downward, away from the fading hum of the hunter. The war above might still rage, but down here, in the dark veins of the city, a different hunt had begun, and it was not finished. The tunnel sloped upward until a faint gray glow appeared ahead. Ryan slowed his pace and tightened his hold on the child. After hours of darkness, even a small light felt sharp and dangerous. He switched off the flashlight and listened. The distant hum of the hunter was gone, but he could not trust the silence. The child stirred and looked toward the pale light. Its silver eyes reflected the glow like tiny moons. Ryan whispered, "Almost there," though he wasn't sure where there was. They climbed a final incline and reached a cracked stone doorway that opened onto the night. Cold air swept through, carrying the scent of wet earth and burnt metal. Ryan crouched low and peered out. They were at the edge of the ruined city. Above them the sky still burned in deep red streaks, but stars showed faintly beyond the smoke. Broken towers stood like black teeth against the horizon. For a brief moment Ryan felt the open space as freedom. A soft click echoed behind him. He spun, sidearm raised. A tall figure blocked the tunnel mouth, framed by the dull light. The figure's armor shone with a faint blue glow that pulsed like a heartbeat. Its eyes, brighter than the child's, fixed on him with sharp intensity. An alien, taller than any soldier Ryan had seen, carrying a staff tipped with swirling energy. The child gasped, a clear sound of recognition. It wriggled from Ryan's arms and stepped toward the figure. "Mother," it said, voice high and sure. Ryan froze. The alien woman moved forward with smooth, powerful steps. Her long cloak of silver fibers flowed like water. Strange symbols glittered across her armor, and light sparkled along the edges of her hands. The tunnels seemed to brighten with her presence. Ryan raised his weapon instinctively. His heart pounded. This was the child's mother, yet she could still be his enemy. The mother stopped a few feet away. Her gaze flicked from the child to Ryan and back. She spoke in a language of soft clicks and tones that Ryan could not understand. The child answered quickly, its voice full of excitement. The mother's eyes narrowed at Ryan. Energy shimmered around her palms, forming a faint blue sphere. Ryan steadied his sidearm, though he knew it would not matter against such power. "I'm not here to hurt," he said, his voice low but firm. "I kept your child safe." The alien woman tilted her head, listening though she might not know the words. The child pointed at Ryan and repeated something in its own language. The blue glow around the mother's hands dimmed slightly. Ryan lowered his weapon a little but did not drop it. He needed her to know he would defend himself if forced. The silence stretched between them, heavy as stone. Then a small device on the mother's wrist blinked with a soft green light. A smooth voice, strangely clear and almost human, spoke from it. "You carried my child through fire," it translated. "You risked death. Our law demands a life bond." Ryan blinked. "Life bond?" The device translated her next words. "A link of life between you and me. If one dies, both die. It is our law for one who saves a child of my blood." Shock tightened Ryan's chest. A bond like that sounded like a trap, a permanent tie to an alien he had just met. He shook his head. "I can't." The mother stepped closer, the glow of her armor casting soft light across his face. "Without the bond," the translator said, "my people will see you as an enemy and destroy you. With the bond, you are protected. My child is safe. You are safe." Ryan looked down at the small alien child who now clung to his leg. Those silver eyes held quiet trust, the same trust he had seen since the first moment in the rubble. He thought of the hunter still searching the tunnels. He thought of his own army, who would shoot on sight. Maybe this strange bond was the only way to keep the child, and himself, alive. He took a slow breath. "All right," he said softly. "If it keeps us safe. I accept." The mother raised her glowing hand. Light spread from her palm like a living mist and touched his forehead. Warmth flooded his body, easing the ache in his leg. A soft pulse, like a second heartbeat, echoed through him. The translator whispered, "The bond is sealed." Ryan lowered his weapon. The mother's eyes softened, and for the first time her expression was not fierce but calm. Outside, the night wind carried distant rumbles of war, but here in the shadowed tunnel a fragile peace settled around them. Ryan glanced at the child, then at the mother. He did not know what the bond truly meant, only that his life was now tied to hers, and there was no turning back. The air in the tunnel felt different after the bond. Ryan could sense a faint rhythm in his chest that did not belong only to him, like an echo of another heartbeat. He touched the spot on his forehead where the alien mother's glowing hand had rested. It still felt warm. The mother lowered her hand and stepped back. Blue light faded from her armor, leaving only a soft shimmer. The child clung to her leg, eyes bright with relief. For a moment no one spoke. Only the distant rumble of war above them filled the silence. Ryan's sidearm hung loosely at his side. He had agreed to something he barely understood. "What does this bond do?" he asked quietly. The small translator on the mother's wrist lit up. Her voice flowed in musical clicks, and the device gave the meaning in calm tones. "Our lives are joined. If you are harmed, I feel it. If I am harmed, you feel it. If one dies, the other dies." Ryan's stomach tightened. It was stronger than a promise. It was a link of survival itself. He met her bright eyes. Why would your law demand something like that? Again the gentle clicks, then the translator. Life is sacred. Saving a child is a gift beyond debt. To carry a child through deathfire is to share life. Now we share it. Ryan looked down at the child, who stared back with innocent trust. He could not find words. The mother turned slightly, listening to the air as if hearing something far away. Her eyes narrowed. The tunnel vibrated faintly beneath their feet. Ryan tensed. The hunter, he whispered. The mother nodded once. It follows. We must leave. She led them through a narrow passage that angled upward. Blue light glimmered from her armor, enough to guide their way without the flashlight. Ryan limped after her, every step easier than before. He realized the warmth of the bond dulled the pain in his leg. They climbed until the tunnel opened into a wide cavern. Stalactites hung like black teeth, and underground rivers whispered below. Strange glowing plants clung to the rocks, lighting the space with a gentle green. The mother paused and spoke quickly in her own language. The translator repeated her words. This place hides us for a time. But the hunter will not stop. It will sense the bond. Ryan frowned. It can feel it. Yes. The bond creates energy. Strong. The hunter seeks that life force. Ryan looked around the cavern. Then we keep moving. Where can we go? The mother touched a panel on her wrist. A floating map appeared, lines of light forming tunnels and routes Ryan could not recognize. She pointed to a glowing mark deep underground. Sanctuary, the translator said. My people guard it. We must reach it before dawn. The child tugged at Ryan's hand, smiling shyly as if to give courage. Despite the fear, he felt a strange calm. The bond pulsed gently, steady as a second heartbeat. They set out again, their steps echoing softly. Sometimes the mother slowed and laid a hand on the wall, as if sensing vibrations through the stone. When she stopped, Ryan waited, feeling the same faint tremor through the bond. Suddenly a piercing screech ripped through the cavern. Ryan flinched, the sound cut through bone and thought. The mother's armor flashed bright blue. Hunter, the translator warned. From a dark side tunnel, red light flared. The hunter emerged, its 3 legs striking the ground with metallic force. Sensors glowed like angry stars. Ryan raised his weapon out of instinct. The mother stepped in front of him, her staff unfolding with a sharp hiss. Energy sparked at its tip. The machine fired a beam of crimson light. The mother swung her staff, a shield of blue energy forming just in time. The beam struck the shield and scattered in a shower of sparks. The child cried out but stayed behind the mother. Ryan felt a sudden stab of pain in his chest, the bond reacting to the mother's strain. He gritted his teeth and steadied his aim. Cover me, he shouted, though he knew she might not understand. But she nodded, reading his intent through the bond itself. Ryan fired at the hunter's sensors. Bullets sparked off armor, but one struck a glowing lens, cracking it. The machine shrieked and staggered, the mother lunged, her staff slicing through the air. A blade of blue energy cut into one of the machine's legs. Metal screeched as the limb collapsed. The hunter reeled, firing wildly. Ryan dove aside, heart pounding. A sudden flash of shared pain told him the mother had been grazed. He felt the burn across his own shoulder, though no wound marked his skin. Together they attacked again. The mother's staff drove through the machine's core with a burst of blue light. The hunter convulsed, sparks flying, then crashed to the ground in a shower of metal fragments. Silence fell except for their ragged breathing. Ryan leaned against the cavern wall, shaking. The mother stood tall, staff humming with fading energy. The child ran to her and then to Ryan, eyes wide with relief. Ryan looked at the wreck of the hunter. Through the bond he felt the mother's exhaustion and strength like a quiet echo inside him. She touched his arm. The translator spoke softly. The bond saved us. We fight as one. Ryan nodded, still catching his breath. For the first time since the war began, he felt not just a fragile truce but a powerful connection, human and alien, two lives tied together by choice and by law. The cavern grew quiet again. But Ryan knew the journey was far from over. The sanctuary lay ahead, and the bond would test them both before they reached it. The cavern smelled of burned metal and damp stone after the hunter fell. Smoke from its ruined core drifted upward in slow, twisting ribbons. Ryan stood still, breathing hard, every muscle tight from the fight. Through the bond he felt the mother's pulse, fast but steady, echoing faintly in his own chest. The child clung to his leg, silver eyes wide with both fear and wonder. Ryan placed a gentle hand on the small shoulder. "It's over," he whispered, though he knew danger still surrounded them. The mother lowered her staff and knelt to inspect the wreck. Blue light pulsed along her armor as she checked for any remaining threat. After a moment she turned to Ryan and spoke in her musical language. The translator on her wrist offered calm words. "The hunter is destroyed, but more may come. We must move now." Ryan nodded. "Lead the way." They left the cavern through a narrow tunnel that sloped downward. The glow from the mother's armor lit their path in soft blue. The bond's quiet rhythm soothed Ryan's racing heart as they walked. Each pulse carried a strange sense of shared strength, as if their lives beat in unison. Hours passed in silence except for the crunch of gravel under their boots and the occasional drip of water. Sometimes the mother stopped to listen, her head tilted as though she could hear through rock. Ryan felt faint vibrations a moment later, the bond letting him sense what she sensed. Finally the tunnel opened into a hidden valley deep beneath the war-torn city. Bioluminescent plants glowed in shades of green and gold. Streams of clear water ran across smooth stones, and a high ceiling glittered like a night sky. The air was warmer here, free from smoke and dust. Ryan paused, stunned. "It's beautiful," he murmured. The mother's eyes softened. "Sanctuary," the translator said. "Safe for now." Small lights appeared across the valley floor, other aliens stepping from shadowed alcoves. They wore flowing garments that shimmered like starlight. Some carried staffs, others simple tools. They stared at Ryan with quiet curiosity but no weapons raised. The child ran forward, calling out in the alien language. Several figures knelt to greet it, their faces bright with relief. Ryan watched, a strange warmth filling him. He had risked everything for this moment. The mother gestured for him to follow her toward a cluster of stone dwellings built into the cavern wall. Inside one of the dwellings, soft lights glowed and the air smelled of herbs. She motioned for him to sit on a low bench carved from crystal-like rock. Ryan lowered himself, finally letting his tired body rest. His wounded leg throbbed less than before, the bond seemed to dull the pain. The mother sat across from him. Her voice was calm as the translator spoke. "The bond will last until death. You are part of our circle now. My people will not harm you. You have a place here." Ryan studied her face. "Does that mean I can never go back to my own people?" She tilted her head. "The bond is choice and life. You may return if you wish, but your life is tied to mine. Distance does not break it. If one of us dies, the other dies. This is truth." The weight of her words settled over him. He thought of the war above, the commanders, the soldiers, the endless fighting. If he returned, would his own army believe his story? Would they accept an alien child and mother at his side? He looked toward the child, now laughing softly with other youngsters, safe and alive because he had chosen compassion over orders. Something inside him shifted. "I don't know what comes next," he said. "But I won't break what we've started." The mother's eyes glowed faintly. "Then we walk the same path," the translator replied. They sat in quiet understanding. The bond pulsed gently, not as a chain but as a shared heartbeat of trust. Far above, muffled booms echoed through the stone, reminders that the war still raged. Ryan knew the fight was not finished. Yet in this hidden valley, a new story had begun, a human soldier tied by life to an alien mother and her child, a living proof that enemies could choose something greater than war.